Hi, Pagan Shooter here. Thought I would do a revisit of the Taurus PT111. This is the Taurus PT111 Millennium G2 in 9mm. Also available as a PT140, which is a 40 Smith & Wesson. The standard 9mm magazines, which I have two of them here. They are loaded, but there is nothing in the chamber of the gun. We'll check that in a minute. The standard 9mm magazines are 12 rounds. There is a California version which is available in 10 round magazines. So this one is 12 plus 1. The California version would be 10 plus 1. The 40 Smith & Wesson PT40 is actually 10 rounds. There was an older version. This is the G2, which is the Generation 2. There was an older version, which was a PT145, which was in 45. And there hasn't been a second generation of that yet. So I don't know if they're planning on doing that. The PT111 empty weighs 18.9 ounces. Then this one is empty. You can see down in the chamber, and there's no magazine. Both magazines that I own are right here. So comes with, by the way, out of the box, it comes with two 12-round magazines. It also comes with two of the keys, the Taurus locking systems, which I'll go into a little bit more. And the locking keys with this model come with the adjustment tool for the sights. So this does come with the standard 3-dot white sights. If you look, you can see there's the sight there. And the sight picture is a little hard to see on this camera, but there it is. So there's your 3 dots. The rear sight is actually adjustable for windage and for elevation. You have two screws on the side here. I'll see if I can get a close-up of those. Two screws on the side, and you can see that larger one back here is actually the Taurus locking system. It's a proprietary locking system, which all the Taurus now pistols come with it. Essentially, you put in the key, you turn and you lock it, and the gun becomes completely unfunctional. You can't lock the slide, you can't pull the slide back, you can't pull the trigger. It completely locks the gun. The gun becomes totally non-functional. It's like having a trigger lock built into it. I keep my guns locked up, so I don't lock them like that. So to me, it's not worthwhile, but I could see if you had kids, locking it, putting it away. Definitely you want to lock these things up in a safe of some sort, but if you had to maybe leave it in a drawer, you could lock it and then it becomes non-functional. And you definitely want to keep control of those keys. The PT111 and PT140 come with the standard external safety. It is not ambidextrous. Also, the slide release, which is on the same side, is also non-ambidextrous. The magazine release, you can see there, is easily gotten to with the thumb. However, it looks like it could be moved. I have not seen anybody do that. The grips on it are a very aggressive grip. If you look, you can see they're extremely aggressive. They're like sandpaper, but they do add to the feel of the gun. The gun is actually has a very positive grip to the grips themselves. The grips also have these things called memory slots. There's one right here for your thumb. There's an identical one on the other side for your thumb. And then there's a memory spot here in the front for your index finger. So you would place your index finger on that one, and then your thumb would go in that groove, and it gives you a very good feel to it. The other safety that is on this gun is a trigger safety, much like you would find on the Glock, which would be right there. You cannot pull the trigger unless that is pressed in. The gun features a loaded chamber indicator down up here on the top. When it is loaded, that will come up and it'll be a little red flag there. Let's see. The breakdown of the gun would be very, very simple. Always check to see if it is loaded. It is not loaded. So we'll go ahead and slide this forward, pull the trigger. Then we go ahead and give it a gentle pull back. Slide the two pieces down on the front here. There's one there and there's one on the other side. You would pull those down and slide off the frame. Then to break down even further, you would, I lost my notes. There we go. To break it down even further, you would then go ahead and pull the guide pin out. You'll see the guide pin, the captured guide pin. And then you pull out your barrel. There's your barrel. There's your slide. All broken down. You can break it down further if you, and there is a little piece down in here, if you take a screwdriver, a very small one, and gently pull this forward, this little slide on the back here, this piece can come off. It slides off, and then you can get your firing pin assemblies out and clean down inside there as well. If you do, don't forget to put a very light sheen of a light oil in there. You do not want to put grease down in there because then you'll end up getting powder residue in there and it'll bind up and it will become less reliable. All guns are like this. To reassemble, it's pretty much the other way around. You put the barrel back down in the slide, just like that. The captured pin or guide pin goes back into there, and then you just push it gently and put it on the rest there. And then, of course, this slides back onto the frame. And you're ready to go. Function test, good. Good to go. Now, the thing about this weapon is the second strike capabilities. It is a single action, double action. When it is chambered or when the gun has been cocked, racking the slide, you are in single action. The break point for the trigger is way back here. You can see when you pull the trigger, very positive go, and back it comes. Now that the trigger's been pulled and hadn't fired, you're now in double action. Double action meaning your pull starts way up there, and it is a stiff pull all the way to the back, where it does finally break clean. The reasons you would need that is if, say you had a hard primer on a round. I've seen this with reloads from factory reload locations. I did get some at a gun shop once that had some very hard primers to it. Every other round I've put through this gun, I've never had a problem with. This one, I would these reloads, I had gotten about 200 rounds. I'd say 1 out of 10 had a hard primer that I was getting a nice hard strike on, but it just wasn't setting off the round. And I'd have to pull the trigger again, and it would definitely set it off. No other rounds I've had a problem with. And that did come in handy. You didn't have to rack the slide and pull it out and hope that round didn't go off while it was coming out. You would just pull the trigger a second time, and that would set it off usually. The grip size, I have some very large hands. You can see that my hands come down below. Now, this is loaded. I am not going to rack this. Just going to slide it in. You can see my hand actually will fit. This fits my hand very, very well. So the grip on it is actually quite good. You can really get a good purchase on the grips, and it allows for really, really good recoil management. So even though this is a really small, really light pistol, the recoil management, it actually manages recoil really well. It is a floating barrel system, so the barrel does disengage after it fires. The slide comes back, it pulls another round in, pushes it, and everything kind of locks back into shape. Very easily concealable. You can see this is the way I normally carry it if I do. You've probably seen this in several of my videos. Very good, very easily concealed, and I do carry this every once in a while. Very light, very easily held onto. My impressions after about 2,000 rounds that I've put through this. It's a very reliable gun. Every time I pull the trigger, except for those times that I try to use those reloads. And with my reloads, it was worked perfectly fine. It's fired every time. Like I said, except for those reloads. It ejects the brass evenly and very systematically, so if you're standing here shooting, you can definitely know where the brass is going to hit off to the side. It's very consistent. Aim point is it's pretty accurate. I mean, it is a very short barrel. You have a 2.5, 3-inch barrel, I believe, and it's pretty accurate even for that small of a barrel. It's the recoil management. It fits really nice into the webbing of your hand. The slide comes back high enough to where you don't have to worry about it catching your hand, and it manages the recoil really, really well. I did have one issue that I did have to contact Taurus about it, and that was the captured guide pin, or guide rod. It was feeling a little off where the guide pin or the guide rod assembly was wiggling. When I pulled it out, I was able to move it around quite a bit. I contacted them, and after some negotiation with them, Taurus support is not the best, I would have to say. Some negotiation with them about what the support entails and what their support lists online. I got them to send me a new captured guide rod, and I was able to slap it in here very quickly, and it's functioning, continues to function as normal. Now, even with that issue, it still functioned. It was more of a concern of mine that the rod was a little worn, and that may have been my fault pulling it out incorrectly when I first got it. At one point, I did feel something crack in there when I was pulling it out, so I may have jimmied it a little too much. That is the absolute only issue I've had with this in 2,000 rounds. And I did take this out very frequently and fire it. I have taken it, and like I said, I do carry this as self-protection. I do trust this with my life. What do you guys think? Have you guys tried one of these? The Taurus PT111? Go ahead and grab one at a gun store. See what you think. This is Pagan Shooter. See you next time.